Welcome once again, my fellow manipulators of digital fate. I'm Richie, this is Capricorn, and we are back at it with another spoiler season video for Wonders of the First, Set 2, Call of the Stones. This is my set review for the entire set, and this video is going to focus on all of the Thalwind cards coming to the Thalwind Orbital. Before we dive in, please like, please subscribe. All of that stuff helps me out so much. This set is looking absolutely insane. We've already done Boundless, Heliosynth, Patria, Sulfera, and after this one, we'll have one more orbital to get through, which will be Umbrathine. But Thalwind has some absolutely crazy gas that we need to talk about. So first off here, we have the Thalwindian Sea Formless Stone. This is the stone for this orbital, just like every orbital now has a formless stone coming within this set. A zero-cost legendary item Myth Stone. It is a core, so you're going to need that Thalwind land with a Thalwind link in play in order to play it. It counts as a stone, which is the craziest part. It'll count towards your win condition. If it starts a round in play under your control, it will generate an energy for you. It will turn on your horde abilities. Everything that a stone does, this will do. In addition to that, all of your Thalwind wonders get +1 power, and it gives you a Thalwind link, which might seem a little bit redundant since you need a Thalwind link in order to play this to begin with, since it's a core card, but it does help have a little bit of protection against a Luminous Scarab or something similar if they end up nulling all the cores out of your lands, or maybe destroying all of your lands, and you've still got this in play. It'll still be giving you that Thalwind link so you can play all of your Thalwind core cards, which is really important. This card's absolutely nuts. All of the stones are nuts, and I think they're going to shake up the competitive constructed meta to an insane degree. But next up, we're going to talk about the tokens and then go in order of rarity. So first up, we got a Reef Raider here, a zero-cost token wonder Beastkin Shark Pirate with 1 power. Most notably, this is a pirate, and Pirate Tribal is a little bit of a sprinkle of a sub-theme within this set. So pretty interesting. Next up, we've got Sapphire Reflection, a zero-cost token wonder Reflection copy with star power. This is a new token that can be a copy of something that you create, which there are a couple cards in this set that do some crazy copy shenanigans. Next up, we've got Storm Marauder. This is a zero-cost token wonder Thalwindian Pirate with 1 power. And then we have Treasure Snatcher, a zero-cost token wonder pirate with 1 power again. So pick your poison when it comes to pirate tokens. Very cool. Next up, we've got our first common. This is Alopius Riptide, a 4-cost primary wonder merfolk hunter with 2 power, and it has the Guardian ability granting +4 power. So anytime your opponent plays a wonder into the same realm as Alopius Riptide, or any Guardian wonder for that matter, you'll trigger that Guardian ability. You can also trigger the Guardian ability by having your opponent move something into that realm from another realm, either by flying, or using the call ability, or some other means, maybe some of the vehicles that are in this set. Anytime that happens, you'll get the +4 buff here. And you can trigger it multiple times in the same round. You can even use your own call cards to call your opponent's stuff into the same realm as this guy, to force them to trigger the Guardian, which is really cool. So even though he has a very small power for his cost, he can become absolutely huge really quick. Just 1 Guardian trigger, he becomes a 6 power guy for as little as 3 energy. And if you can force a second Guardian trigger, he'll be a whopping 10 power, which for a common is actually pretty good. So keep this guy on your radar when it comes to limited. Next up, we've got Azurewind's Crest. This is a zero-cost secondary land with a Thalwind link, which will allow you to play your Thalwind core cards and also give a cost reduction of 1 energy on all of your Thalwind cards, but only the first one that you play. That ability does not stack. You can also harvest it to gain an action. Every land has this ability, and on arrival, target player reveals a card at random from their hand. Kind of an interesting little negligible on-arrival ability tacked onto this land, which honestly isn't that bad when you consider the fact that it's a common. It is definitely some much appreciated gravy if you're trying to fill out your suite of lands for limited, although in constructed, I don't know if it's enough bang for your buck to be worth running over some of the more important lands. Next up, we've got Bradwyn the Rum Hunter. This is a 2-cost secondary wonder Thalwindian pirate criminal with only 1 power, but on play you reveal the top card of your deck. If it's Thalwind, draw it, otherwise bury it. This is an ability that we've seen on an entire cycle of lands in the previous set, the first set Existence, and now we have it on a cycle of wonders. And what's great about Bradwyn here is I'm pretty sure he's the cheapest wonder that has this ability. So even though he doesn't have a lot of power, he can still contest a realm, force your opponent to have to play value into that realm to keep you from taking the stone, while also potentially just drawing a card to replace himself. The deeper that you're into Thalwind, the more important this guy can be, and the more likely you should run him. Next up, we've got Emerald Hawk. This is a 1-cost primary wonder bird beast with just 1 power, but it has flying. This card is incredibly important for limited in particular, where you can't guarantee you'll have a consistent specific land drop on round 1, so that you'll be able to play your 2-drop wonders as a 1-drop wonder with that cost reduction and make sure you can actually play them on round 1 when you only have 1 energy. So him only costing 1 means even if you don't get your land, your correct land type, and get your links into play, no matter what, you're going to be able to play him on round 1 immediately. And the fact that he is a cheap flyer kind of makes up for his low power. He can just scoot around through all the realms, taking stones in any lanes where it's uncontested, where your opponents don't have wonders there. And that can be really powerful. He also makes a really powerful mobile platform for any kind of like +1 counter synergies or equipment synergies that buff him up. The fact that you can put whatever buffs you want on him and retain that flying ability can be very, very strong in the right deck. I think this guy is a really important common for limited. You could definitely do worse in your deck, and you should greatly consider running him. But next up, we've got Featherfall Cliffs. This is a 0-cost secondary land. It gives you a Thalwind link. Harvest it to gain an action, and on play, you may tap a wonder you control here. If you do, target wonder here gets flying this round. This is a really interesting card. It gets way better in round 7, where you can get flying for essentially the rest of the game, but it's still kind of useful early on. The big downside is sometimes you're going to be forced to play this land early when you're not able to make as much use of the flying ability it grants, just simply to get a Thalwind land in play so that you can enable some of your cards. So there is a little bit of a risk reward here, but I think just being able to give something flying for essentially free, as long as you have a wonder in play that doesn't have a tap ability, tapping that wonder is like 0 opportunity cost to just activate free flying for the round, pretty much on whatever's your best guy, right? Really, really cool card. One that I expect to see used a lot in limited because evasion just seems to matter so much in this limited format. With call, flying is so much more powerful because of call, because if they call your thing into a realm you don't want it, you can fly it out. I think this card might end up being important in that format. Next up, we've got Galileo Ratchford, a 4-cost secondary wonder merfolk warrior with 2 power, and whenever an opponent draws a card, this gets +1 this round. He's also got Heart of a Legend, so his abilities will trigger twice if you control another legendary wonder. This guy's really cool. I might be a bit biased, because First Formed, the team that I'm a part of, my competitive team, is powered by Bazooka, and Galileo is one of the Bazooka guys. And I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure this is a wink and a nod towards that man. And if so, well done. Very exciting. But this card is kind of interesting. Can get a +2 buff with literally every card that your opponent draws. It's kind of a counter draw in a way, where if your opponent's playing like Seer's Gaze or these crazy draw spells, they draw like 6 in one round in one go. this could potentially get just a 12 power buff out of nowhere and be like a 14 power thing that you only spent 3 energy on. Really, really interesting. It's going to be hard to say how good it will actually be until we see it played more. But it's definitely worth consideration. It's one of those cards that I think is more of a counter or a foil to what your opponent's doing. So it really depends on just how much card draw they have in their deck. That makes me think that it might not be amazing in limited, but depending on where the constructed meta goes, this could end up being an important constructed card. Next up, we've got Hugo Hot Hair Hurst, a 2-cost primary wonder. Thalwindian airship captain. He's only got 1 power, but his ability more than makes up for it. Tap free, move a card in this realm to an adjacent realm. This ability is absolutely nuts. It's basically a better version of Call in a way, because you can play this guy, use his power now to contest a realm without actually having to use the Call ability right away. And when you do decide to tap free and use his movement ability, it's a little bit better than Call because it can move literally any card and it doesn't care who controls the stone, right? You can move their guy out of the realm into a specific realm you want it in. You can move one of your guys out of the realm into a specific realm you want it in. You can even move a land or an item if you need to. You can move any card. So it's kind of like Super Call in a way. And I have a feeling that this is one of the cards that a lot of people are going to sleep on. It's going to be really, really good. You definitely want to play it if you get it in limited. And I would be surprised if it doesn't show up in constructed. Next up, we've got Notshell Shark, a 1-cost secondary wonder armored shark beast with 3 power, and that's it. It's just a vanilla wonder. But again, this guy is important because of that 1 energy cost. In limited, if you don't get the right land type, you can always play it on 1. And I think having a good 3 to 4 cards that cost 1 is pretty important in limited to make sure you consistently, no matter what, can always play a wonder in round 1. When maybe sometimes your opponent can't and you can get that tempo lead. So don't sleep on this. It's not the most amazing card ever, but if you're trying to flesh out your curve and make sure you have just enough 1-drops, I recommend 3. This guy could come in handy. Next up, we've got Radiant Shatter, a 3-cost secondary spell, Rite of Focus. Destroy target item with cost 3 or less. Create a 1-power pirate token in target realm. This card is very versatile. Granted, it can only destroy very particular items, and there's a chance your opponent won't have any of those items, so it could be a kind of dead card. That being said, unlike a lot of other item removal, even if you can't destroy the item, you can get value out of this. You can get a 1-power pirate token, and you can put it in any realm, which makes it even more versatile. And because it's a pirate, it can pick up pirate buffs and synergies from like Pirate Tribal, which there is a very small sub-theme. There is a guy that buffs all your pirates in this set. So when you put it all together, I think this is actually one of the safest ways to include item destruction in your limited deck. When it comes to constructed, it really depends how much items that cost 3 or less end up mattering. If that's not a big part of the meta, then this card probably doesn't see play. And if it is a very big, important part of the meta, you might see this card everywhere. Next up, we've got Shocknado. I absolutely love this card and used it to great degree. A 4-cost secondary spell, Rite of Focus. It is a core card, so you're going to need that Thalwind land with a link in play in order to play it. It stuns target wonder no matter what, so it will reduce their base power to 0 just for the round, and then tap it forever, which doesn't always matter, but if you take away the ability to tap that wonder for like a land that provides extra value, if you can tap a wonder, or take away that wonder's ability to tap for its own tap ability, which plenty of wonders in this set have, it can still be very, very good. On top of that, it has this other line of text. If the targeted wonder has flying, it gets -2 this round. And because going to 0 doesn't kill a wonder, but going to -1 power or less does kill a wonder, if you stun it and it goes to 0 power and it's flying and then gets -2, it actually dies. So this spell will kill any flying wonder unless they have a buff on that flying wonder that is increasing the base power, or increasing the power beyond its base power, because stun will only reduce the base power, not the full power. So if you had like 2+1 counters on it, you know, the flyer wouldn't die. It would simply go to 0. If you had a equipment on it that gives +2, same thing, right? Any just one singular +1 counter or one singular +1 buff from an equipment will not be enough, but 2 or more will allow a flyer to be protected from Sharknado, which is probably something to keep in mind in Limited. Anything that can buff up something by +2 power permanently might be worth higher consideration to have built-in protection against Sharknado, because if you hit a flyer from out of nowhere with this, especially if it's a big nasty one, it can absolutely swing the game. Next up, we've got Skyfire Cannon, a 3-cost primary item equipment cannon. Equipped Wonder gets +1 power, not enough to save it from a Sharknado, and whenever Equipped Wonder moves, you put a +1 counter on it, which could be enough to save it from a Sharknado. So maybe you play this on your flyer, you make sure you attack and move it as soon as possible to get that additional +1 counter, and then you're safe from Sharknados for the rest of that game. That could be pretty cool. But the fact that you can just keep piling counters on your thing every time it moves makes this a really good card to kind of build around with like an equipment and vehicle deck where you're doing a lot of moving, maybe a lot of call cards. There's a lot of cool ways to trigger this in the set because there's just so much movement in the set. I'm excited to see how good this ends up being in the long run. Next up, we've got Tavish Shadow Fuse, one of my favorite cards in the set. It is basically a nerfed version of Kael'th to me. Even though it's not exactly that, it kind of is. A 4-cost primary wonder Thalwindian rogue saboteur with 4 power, and on arrival, you tap target card. Now, Kael'th Leaf Tracker, from the very first set existence, is a much more broken version of this. On arrival, that thing can tap or untap any land or item, and also be harvested itself to gain an action. An insane amount of power. This feels like a fixed version. You can still play it and tap their land, which is usually what you're going to do most of the time. Taking away one of their potential actions from later on in the game is almost as good as having an attuned card that just doesn't cost you an action, right? You get ahead by one action, at least in comparison to where you were prior to playing this card, which is more powerful than I think a lot of people will realize on the surface. And sure, you know, you're not getting the extra value of being able to harvest it like Kael'th, but the other part of this that's really cool is it's not an on-play ability. Kael'th's ability to tap or untap something is an on-play. This is on arrival, which means you have the possibility of portaling this or using cards that make it get banished and come back in to re-trigger the ability and tap another card all over again. You also have the ability to tap a wonder with this, which you can't do with Kael'th. So there are some upsides that make it a little bit better than Kael'th in some ways. Overall, it is definitely a fixed Kael'th still and not as strong, but I still think this card is really, really strong. It can come in and maybe you want to tap down their Stone Seeker so that they can't tap it to make another story token, or maybe you want to tap down their Razia so they can't use that ability, or their Blazafell. There are a lot of opportunities to get insane value out of this on arrival ability, with the backup just plan A being at the very least you can tap down their land 99% of the time and take away some of their action advantage. And if that land happens to be something like a Indra's Citadel where they're getting multiple actions out of it, then it gets even better. It's like taking away 2 of their actions rather than 1. So I actually think this card is super good. I'm excited to brew with it a lot and play with it a lot. I think you jam it if you're playing limited for sure. And I think there's room in constructed for this. Absolutely. Especially with it having lower DBS score than Kael'th. You can fit it into a lot more decks. Next up, we've got Thrashfang, a 2-cost primary wonder baby fish beast with 3 power. And it has on defense, it gets +2 this round. So this is sort of like the little baby dragon from the Existence set. It's got 3 power as a base power instead of 2, but it costs 1 more. interesting card. This will be pretty decent in limited. 3 power is fine, and the fact that it can keep getting the +2 power buff every time it defends means if you're fighting back and forth over a realm, this gets extra value every time they swing, which is nice. Next up, we've got Vortex Veil City, one of my favorite lands in quite a while. This is a 0-cost secondary land, gives you a Thalwind link. You can harvest it to gain an action like any land, but you can sacrifice free, return target wonder you control in this realm to its owner's hand. This is awesome. The one thing you have to be careful of is it can only return something that's in the same realm as it. So you do have to be very careful where you play it, especially if it happens to be your first Thalwind land and you need to get it out early to turn on all those core cards. You have to be very, very careful with how you play with this, making sure to play the right things into the right realm so that you can bounce the thing you want to back to your hand and get as much value as you can. That being said, just at some point after harvesting it, getting the action back, you can also bounce a dude back to your hand and replay it. Even just the Tavish that we saw, you could replay that and tap down another land or tap down a Stone Seeker because maybe you tapped a land the first time and then they played a Stone Seeker later in the game. Just bounce the Tavish, replay it, tap down the Stone Seeker. There's a lot of extra value you can generate by replaying your own cards if you line them up just right. And I love that it's a sacrifice free because it's also a way to put our own lands into the Abyss, which maybe opens up the door to building some kind of a self-sacrifice land deck where we want lands in the Abyss so that we can bring them back from the Abyss and get value out of them all over again. Maybe a deck with Briarmaw or something like that. I think this card has a ton of potential. I'm going to be experimenting a lot with it. I absolutely love it. But next up, we've got Whirlpool Bay Watchman, a 2-cost secondary wonder Thalwindian Warden. It's got 2 power and the call ability. So on arrival, you may move target wonder 1 realm towards this if its controller controls a stone here. And to break that down a little bit further, if you play it in a realm where you have a stone, you pick one of your wonders from a different realm to move 1 realm closer. If you play it in a realm where they control a stone, you get to pick one of their wonders from another realm and move it 1 realm closer. Very, very powerful ability. Probably the most underestimated ability in the entire set, and absolutely changes the feel of limited play. Movement is just so important now in limited, and probably in constructed too. It really seems like movement is just all over the place, and it just completely changes the game. This card is super powerful. Do not sleep on it. Any of the call cards, if you get them in your limited pool, you want to be playing them. And I expect all of the call cards to have a chance of showing up at constructed. Next up, we've got Yogi Skygrow, a 3-cost secondary wonder with 3 power. And on arrival, this and target wonder here get flying this round. If you can manage to hold off until round 7 and then finally drop this, getting 2 guys with flying, probably your best guy being one of them, is really, really powerful in the last round. And since it lasts for the entire round, it'll last until the end of the game if you play it in round 7, which is just really, really powerful if you use it just right. Just drop it, create some flyers, and just move them all together and just fly realm to realm to realm, taking stones. It's very, very action efficient that way because you don't have to constantly play one wonder with an action before you can attack in that realm with another action, essentially costing 2 actions to take stones. Instead, your flyers just are automatically in the next realm that they want to be in, so that they're ready to just attack with 1 action and take a stone and keep doing that right down the line, basically saving half your actions if you line it up just right. So very, very powerful, and try to save it for round 7 if you can. Next up, we've got Aurelia Medusa, a 3-cost secondary wonder ooze jellyfish monster with 3 power. It is a core card, so you're going to need that link in play in order to play it. On arrival, each player loses 1 energy, which is awesome because if you only had just enough energy to play the Medusa, then it doesn't really do anything to you, but you can make your opponent lose an energy and completely change their entire game plan for the round, because now maybe they can't play the thing that they were intending to play, which I sort of love. An ability like this gets way more powerful if you have other cards doing similar things to back it up, And I have a deck like that I'm working on. I think it's going to be absolutely nutty. But in addition to that ability, this thing is also unstable, which means at the end of round, you have to sacrifice it no matter what. So if you do have a way to sacrifice some of your own wonders to get value with cards like Deconstruct, using it on an unstable wonder that's going to have to be sacrificed anyway almost feels like free value, which is awesome. And then on death, you create a 1-power pirate token here. So it replaces itself when it does die, and the thing it replaces itself with is a pirate, so if you are going for pirate tribal and trying to boost up those pirates, you can get a little bit more juice out of this card with that as well. Very versatile card, it does a whole lot, and like I said, I can't wait to brew with this one. But next up, we've got Blackbeak's Hidden Cove, a 0-cost secondary land landmark. This is also, I believe, our first uncommon for Thalwind. It gives you a Thalwind link. You can harvest it to gain an action, and on harvest, if this is in a high realm, you create a 1-power pirate token here. Realms 5, 6, and 7 are considered high realms. Now, I've said this for every card in the cycle because there is a card that does this for each orbital, for each color. And I've said the same thing about all of them, and it's still true here. You have to be very, very careful when playing this. You don't want your only lands to be lands with this ability, because inevitably you're going to have to play some lands early, and any lands with this ability that you play early, you just basically have no extra ability on them, which is just strictly worse than pretty much every other land in the entire game. So if you can build your deck around having enough lands where you have options, and maybe there's, you know, another blue land, another Thalwind land that you can play early to turn on your core cards, and then save this for later when you can finally play it in realm 5, 6, or 7, you do have to be careful how you build around it, right? That being said, even if you have to sometimes play this early, it might be worth it, right? If you have multiple in your deck and the first one you get no ability out of, but in exchange for that, eventually when you draw your second one and play it, you do get to get a free 1-power guy, that might make up for it. So again, I want to see these cards in action a little bit more before I'm 100% sure, but definitely at the end of the day, at the very least, be careful how you build around it. It can be a lot of value, but you don't want to be caught with your pants down. Next up, we've got Celestial Tidegazer, a primary wonder, 3-cost, Weave Warden Ancient Sage. It's got 2 power and a tap-free ability. You may banish a Thalwind first form from your hand. If you do, untap this, and it becomes a copy of it this round. This is really interesting. We have one of these cards like this for every orbital, and as I've said with all the rest, this card is going to get a lot better every time they release more and more sets, because more and more Thalwind first forms are going to start to be released, and the more there are, the more consistent a card like this will become, and the more versatile it will as well, because you'll have more options. But it could be a very cheap way to get an otherwise very expensive, powerful wonder into play, sort of, earlier than it probably should be. And I think in the right deck, it could be nuts. And I think that deck is going to become increasingly consistent and likely with every set that they release. Next up, we've got Colossabear, probably the biggest guy that calls, at least in the lower rarities. A 4-cost secondary wonder with 5 power, and it has the call ability. So this is 5 whole power in a realm while also calling. Most of the call guys, again, at least in the common and uncommon rarities, have very, very low power, and you're only using them for their utility for the most part. This allows you to put a ton of pressure in a realm and overpower the power that they already have there while also calling something. And sometimes that can kind of feel like a 2-for-1, like the value of 2 actions for just really 1 action and the 1 card. This could be nuts. I haven't got a chance to play with it yet, but I'm tempted to say this card is probably really good. It's not even all that expensive, as little as 3 energy if you have the link. So I recommend giving it a try. I'm going to be playing it in limited if I ever open it for sure. Next up, we've got Corsair Seat of Command, a 4-cost secondary item upgrade. On round start, if you control a stone here, draw a card. Very interesting. So The earlier you get this down, the better it is, so that you have more cards you draw off it over the course of the entire game, but you also need to be very careful that you put it in a realm where you're never going to lose control of the stone, so that you don't miss any rounds drawing off this. If you line things up just right, this card can be really, really good, feeling just as good as Nyx's Fleetfoot, which we saw in the Sulfera video going over the Sulfera cards. Which is definitely the best card draw card in the entire set, but this is close. The problem with this is there are more hoops to jump through. It doesn't just care about what you play. You have to have it in a very specific realm, you have to have it out as early as possible, and you have to make sure you don't lose control of the stone there. If you can manage to do it, you could draw a good number of cards off this. You could maybe even play it as early as round 2. The problem with that is you spend all of your energy playing this if you play it that early, and then you don't have anything to defend the stone where you play it, so there's a good chance you'll just lose the stone and won't actually get to draw cards off of it. So, jury's out. I feel like this might just be slightly too expensive to really get the most out of. But then again, even if you just drop it in like round 4, you're still going to be able to draw 3 cards off of it. Is that good enough for your 3 energy and all the hoops you need to jump through? I'm not sure. There's also the possibility of being able to get extra triggers off of this with cards that allow you to double up your trigger. Can't think of any off the top of my head, but I feel like there's something that lets you double up a trigger. There is a guy in Heliosynth that does that. Jury's kind of out on this card. Let me know what you think of it in the comments. The ceiling is pretty high. In a perfect world, you could draw a lot of cards off this, but I feel like the floor for this card isn't all that great. There are a lot of fail states, there are a lot of ways to make this not get you enough value and just fail miserably and only cost you, you know, an action and 3 energy, and you kind of get nothing out of it. So, a little bit worried, but there are a lot of item synergies as well, so maybe there's ways to line it up and get extra value off stuff like that. The jury's out. Let me know in the comments what you think about it. Next up, we've got Diamond Shell Tortuga. The jury is definitely not out on this card. A 1-cost primary wonder beast turtle with only 1 power, but sacrifice free, you gain 1 energy or draw a card. Now, this is nowhere near as good as Moonfire Crystal Mouse from Set 1 Existence, but it's not really fair to compare it to that card because that card is God tier. This card is still really, really good, and I think a lot of people that are going to immediately compare it to Moonfire Crystal Mouse are going to sleep on this. It's going to slide under the radar. They're going to think it's junk just because of how good Moonfire Crystal Mouse is. But there are some upsides to this card that Moonfire Crystal Mouse doesn't have. The fact that it only costs you 1 means even if you don't get the link, you can still play this on round 1 in both limited and constructed. It's not a core card, so if your cores get nulled out by a Lumina Scarab, you can still play it. That's pretty good. It can cost you as little as 0 energy if you have your link, which is another benefit that it has over Moonfire Crystal Mouse. You could be completely out of energy, play this, and then sacrifice it to gain 1 energy, giving you just enough energy to play something else for 1 that is an important card that's going to swing the game in your favor that round. Moonfire Crystal Mouse does not give you the ability to come back from 0 energy into more energy and initiate a play line like that. So there are some subtle upsides here that are slightly better than Moonfire Crystal Mouse. Obviously, gaining 2 energy and drawing 2 cards is way, way better. So the mouse is just going to be better overall. But I think this card is still usable. At the very least, in constructed, you should probably run it. Any kind of energy or draw ramp is really good. Throw this down, contest the realm, force them to spend their resources to put something there to stop you, even if you had no intention of actually taking the stone. Then you just sack it to draw a card, and maybe that was your plan the whole time, but you still force them to use their resources. So a lot of cool ways you can play with this card. I think it's, even though it's way underpowered in comparison to the mouse, I think it is still a really good card. You should definitely run it. Will it see play in constructed? If it does, it will be alongside the mouse as like a 5-card package. This is a primary wonder, so you can only run 2 of them. And I wouldn't doubt I wouldn't be surprised if that pops up in some decks. Next up, we've got the Junk Airship, a 2-cost secondary wonder airship with 0 power. It is a core card, it has flying, and on battle, it gets +2 this round. What a cool card. It even works decently well as a defender, right? You play it in the realm, just sitting there waiting for your opponent to attack. They attack in, boost it up to 2, and then you can spend your next action attacking back, boosting it up to 4, potentially taking the stone back because now it's a 4, and flying it to another realm, and maybe snowballing into constantly attack, 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 getting stronger, 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 and taking a bunch of stones all in a row. Granted, that's the perfect scenario, right? It is still, at the end of the day, a 0 power wonder, but it's still a flyer, and it could be a really good mobile platform to put +1 counters on, and equipment that buffs it up, and all that kind of stuff. So I actually think this card is pretty good. I think it's another one people are going to sleep on. I don't think it's absolutely amazing, but there are some interesting ways you can line things up to really get value out of this card. Next up, we've got Kelvin McCracken, a 3-cost primary wonder construct merchant with 4 power. It is a core card. He's got Heart of a Legend, so his abilities will trigger twice if you control another legendary wonder. And he has tap free, target wonder with flying gets +3 or -3 this round. Which means if you have another legend out, you can give 2 completely different flyers either -3 or +3. You can kill 2 of their 2 power or less flyers at the same time with 1 tap free that uses 0 actions. That is crazy. You could also just kill 1 and buff up another one of yours so that it can fly around and take stones. Or maybe you should buff up 2 of yours. Or maybe you just give 1 of your guys +6. The versatility of this card is nuts. The fact that it can kill stuff is also pretty good. I think this is another one that's a little bit flying under the radar. I don't think it's absolutely amazing because it's really only going to work on flyers. So there are some fail states for it, right? There are situations you'll run into where it's not very useful. But at the very least, if you're playing it in a deck where you're running enough flyers, even if you don't get to target their stuff, kill their stuff, you at the very least get to buff your stuff up and not completely waste this card. So I think you probably want to build your deck in that direction if you're trying to utilize this guy, just to make sure your floor is a little bit better, and worst case scenario, you can do more with it. But you definitely want to use it to try to kill flyers if you can, and that can be a huge swing if you pull it off. Next up, we've got Marianas Storm Surge, a 2-cost primary wonder merfolk citizen siren with 1 power, and it has the Awaken ability, giving merfolk you control +2 power. And Awaken is really amazing. We've covered this in all the videos so far, but for those of you that might be watching this video as your first video in the series, the way Awaken works is if you've gained control of a stone, if you've specifically seized a stone, not gained control of a stone, if you've specifically seized a stone, which happens by winning battle, this round, all of your awakened stuff is awakened. And the way it works is it's not like when you seize a stone, it triggers all of your awakened stuff that's out. Instead, every card with Awaken is constantly asking the question, have you seized the stone? Have you seized the stone? Whenever that answer is yes, the thing is automatically awakened. And there's a subtle difference in how the card plays because of that. You can steal a stone, seize a stone early in the round to turn on all of your Awaken, and then later on in that round, you're still awakened. You can play this Awaken card from your hand. It comes in already awake. Really, really powerful if you line it up just right. The fact that all of your merfolk will get +2 when it awakens is kind of nuts. Is this going to see play? Is there going to be an actual merfolk tribal deck? If this was a secondary, I would say for sure. The fact that it's a primary makes it a little less consistent, and I'm a little less sure, but it's absolutely worth trying out and experimenting with. I hope Merfolk Tribal is a thing because I think it could be super fun. Next up, we've got Seafloor Abyssal Horror, a 3-cost primary wonder sea horror monster with 6 power, and that's it. This is just a vanilla wonder, but again, if you're looking to fill out your curve, you could do a lot worse than use this as your 3-drop. This will cost you potentially as low as 2 energy for a whopping 6 power. So the power to cost ratio a lot of times makes up for the fact that it doesn't have any fancy abilities. do not underestimate this card, because it could just take over a realm and force your opponent to have to play like 2 wonders there, spend 2 actions just to catch up, and that matters. Next up, we've got Sky Jumper Parachute. This is one that I used in my sealed deck during the Shattering. A 2-cost primary item equipment. Equipped wonder gets +2 power, therefore getting protection from Shocknados. And also, sacrifice free, return target wonder you control to its owner's hand. It's like a better version of Vortex Veil City, because you get to choose target wonder to return. It doesn't have to be the wonder this is equipping. It doesn't have to be in the same realm as the Sky Jumper Parachute. When you sacrifice it, you get return any wonder that you have out back to your hand. It's a really, really great way to reuse key cards that have really powerful on-play or on-arrival abilities, or even just really powerful tap abilities that you want to reuse and reset them to untapped by playing them again. Very, very versatile card. Another one that's going to be super underestimated, but just the buff and the protection from Shocknado, the ability to replay your best cards, super versatile, tons of value. Play it. Next up, we've got Soko Cloudkin, a 3-cost legendary wonder with 2 power, and on play you untap target Thalwind legendary wonder. This is another one of those cards that's just going to get better and better and better with every set that's released, as you have access to more and more Thalwind legendary wonders that have tap abilities. The consistency and versatility of this card are going to shoot up through the roof, and eventually it's going to hit critical mass, and this card's going to be really, really good. Right now, there's only a few, so the jury's kind of out, but at the very least, you can untap your Stoneseeker and get another story token out of it, and that's not nothing. Next up, we've got the Cursed Fortune, and I kind of love this card. A 4-cost legendary wonder, pirate ship with 5 power. It is a core card, and on play, you untap target enemy here, gain control of it this round if its power is equal to or less than this card's power. So this is sort of like a Wind Reaver. It doesn't have flying, but it's a little bit cheaper. It has more power, but then the other downside is it can only take a limited assortment of things. Granted, there's still a good number of things you can steal with this, right? Anything that's 5 power or less, you can take with this. Another thing that's really cool is, I'm pretty sure, and if I'm wrong about this, I'll let you guys know in the comments, but I'm pretty sure you could play this into a realm with an equipment that buffs your wonder, and attach that equipment, and choose to resolve attaching the equipment first, so that the on-play sees the new power, the full power. If you had an equipment that gives +2, like the parachute we just saw, you'd have a 7 power wonder, and it would look for 7 power and less instead of 5 or less. I'm not 100% sure if that works, so I'm going to get clarification from the team, and I'll let you guys know in the comments, but it might work that way, which could make it even better. But even just as it stands, being able to take anything that's 5 power or less and keep it for the entire round, you know, until the end of round, is going to be kind of powerful. I think overall I still like the Wind Reaver a little bit better, but this is close. This is still really good. That 1 energy cost reduction is way more meaningful than it looks like it is on the surface. Pun intended. Next up, we've got Uncover History, a 3-cost secondary spell, Rite of Fate, and you reveal the top 2 cards of target opponent's deck. You may bury any number of them and put the rest back in any order. So you basically just get to stack their deck. Look at the top 2. If any of them are really problematic, you don't want your opponent to play them, you bury it on the bottom of the deck. And if there's a crappy card on there, you leave it on top and make them draw it so they have bad draws. That seems fine. And worst case scenario, you can just bury both of them if they're both super strong. That being said, it does cost you an action, it costs you a card, it costs you 2 energy. Is it really worth it? It depends. It depends. I think if you are building a deck that has ways to get more value off of knowing what they have coming, and being able to take advantage of that knowledge, then this can get a whole lot better. But if you're not building your deck around that concept, I feel like this is kind of weak. Next up, we've got Agent Matoka. This is our first rare. This is a 2-cost secondary wonder Merfolk Artificer Scavenger with 3 power. It has the call ability, but what makes this guy so special and why he's a rare is he also has on round end, you may return this to its owner's hand. So this is a 2-cost call guy, which there are a lot of call guys that have 2 costs, like 1 in each orbital, I'm pretty sure. He's got a little bit more power than the 2-cost call guys of lower rarities normally have. And then this ability is absolutely crazy, being able to every single round put it back in your hand, so that basically every round you can play this and trigger call again. You can call every single round as long as you're okay with, you know, committing an action and a little bit of energy into playing this guy, and you don't even need a core. So even if they null out your cores or you don't get the right land, you can still play this and you can still get value off of it. This card is really, really good. And even though it's a secondary and you can run 3, the first one is always going to be the most valuable one, because chances are you're not going to want to bounce 2 every round and play 2 every round. That's just going to use up too many of your action resources, I believe. Some decks might want to. The really crazy decks that just go super deep into call, they might want to do that. But I do think that the first copy is significantly more valuable and more powerful than any copies that you get after that, anything you draw after that. So for me, in my constructed deck during the Shattering, I ran just one of these guys, because if you happen to get the one, it's really, really powerful. But second and third slots were better used on more powerful cards. So that was the strategy I used when building with this guy, but there will definitely be decks that want to run all 3. Probably the best call card in the game. At least the best call card that's really cheap and efficient to just easily be able to trigger call whenever you need to. Next up, we've got Archelon, a 5-cost legendary wonder with 7 power, and you can tap free, reveal the top card of each opponent's deck, then put them back, and each player draws a card. So effectively what this does is you draw a card and I draw a card when you tap free, but I get to see what card you draw, and you don't get to see what card I draw. Really, really good, I think. It's particularly good in Limited, where the 7 power for 4 cost is going to matter that much more. In Constructed, again, I think it's probably best used in that deck that wants to know what your opponent is drawing and has some kind of other synergies to build in that can take advantage of that. And it's possible that if you are building that deck, this guy could slot in perfectly. Outside of that, I'm not quite sure if the power level is there. Then again, depending on what the DBS value is, this could be a really good card to slot into save DBS. Next up, we've got Awakened Cuttlefish, a 2-cost primary wonder squid beast with 2 power. It is a core card, and when it awakens, it gets +2 power and the ability to tap free, seek 3 a wonder with cost 2 or less. So it kind of becomes a beefier Ryland. Granted, it doesn't get to portal the thing that it finds when it arrives, so the tap free ability isn't quite as powerful as Ryland from the first set existence. But close enough. You do have to awaken it to do that, but you also buff up its power to 4 for a wonder that costs you as little as 1 energy, and it can also... It could do its thing, right? Like 4 power for as little as 1 energy, while also having access to that tap free ability seems good. Obviously, it's a lot better in the right deck if you build around it appropriately so that you can consistently hit something with that Seek 3. But the coolest part, I think, is the fact that this can line up with Ryland. That if you're building a deck with Ryland, you can also use this and have it feel almost like you have like 4 copies of Ryland in a way. You can use this to hit Ryland off a Seek, or maybe use the Ryland to hit this off a Seek, and just keep the chain going. And I really think we're starting to hit critical mass with cards that can do that sort of thing, which is really, really exciting. Next up, we've got Chio Patchfinder, a 3-cost secondary wonder Tigerian pirate with 4 power. If you control a pirate, it costs 1 less, which means if you also have the link, this will cost as little as just 1 energy for the 4 power. And it's also attuned Thalwind, which means if you have a Thalwind land in play, You just get to play this without spending an action. It's the only attuned wonder in the set, I'm pretty sure. I'm not 100%, but I'm almost 100% sure this is the only actual attuned wonder in the entire set. We do have some attuned equipment, but as far as wonders go, this is really, really powerful. Not spending an action to play this is huge. In limited, because there are less attuned wonders in this set, it's even more of a surprise if you can save this card for the end of the game when you have one action left and your opponent doesn't think you have enough actions to play something to give you enough power and still attack in that realm with that power, and this guy comes out of nowhere with attuned and gives you the power you need, and you get to still have that action to attack with. Can be absolutely nuts if you line it up just right. Attuned is very, very powerful, and I'm glad to see Thalwind get some attuned love as far as wonders are concerned. I think this guy's really good. I'm in the middle of brewing a deck with him right now. Next up, we've got 𝑇𝑒𝑟𝑟𝑎𝑛𝑐𝑒 the Devouring Skies, a 6-cost legendary wonder with 4 power. It has flying, and whenever another wonder you control arrives here, you may stun target enemy here. Now, 6 energy for a 4 power flyer is kind of underrated, right? It's not great. It's not great. And I think it's really easy to overlook how good this card can be if you're looking at those stats. But this ability is way, way better than it looks on the surface. The fact that 𝑇𝑒𝑟𝑟𝑎𝑛𝑐𝑒 can fly around to whatever realm you need it to be in, wherever you're going to drop your wonder next, and then you drop the wonder there and you stun the other thing, reducing its base power to 0, getting rid of its tap free ability if it has a tap free ability, because now it's tapped down from the stun. There's so many versatile ways to use this. Just being able to have the ability to stun to a certain extent whatever you want on demand by just playing a wonder that you probably want to play anyway, and being able to reuse that over and over and over again, in conjunction with also being able to fly your 4 power to wherever you need it. There's just a lot of value to be had in this. I ran it in my seal deck at the Shattering, and it was way, way better than I expected it to be. It definitely won me some games. Card is nutso. Is it good enough for Constructed? I don't know. It's hard to say. The fact that it's not limited to like once a round or anything like that, if you can find a deck that just machine guns out wonders, probably tokens, you could get a whole bunch of stun triggers. And if you have a bunch of actions built up from lands and stuff, and you can be using actions to fly around in the middle of some of those machine gun out wonders tokens, you could get a whole bunch of stuns on a whole bunch of things all over the place and just completely rip apart their board, which could be really fun. Do we want to make a stun machine gun deck? Maybe. Another cool combo is if you run this with any of the cards that give -X when they enter, or you know, put a minus whatever counter on something. You play it in the same realm as this. Well, now you get both abilities to trigger. That wonder arriving will stun the thing, and you can also give the debuff to the thing, immediately killing it because its base power is at 0. Really cool combos that you can line up with 𝑇𝑒𝑟𝑟𝑎𝑛𝑐𝑒. Kind of excited to try and build around it. Granted, it is legendary, you can only have one, so you need to make sure that deck functions really well if you don't draw the 𝑇𝑒𝑟𝑟𝑎𝑛𝑐𝑒. But I think it's worth trying. We're going to mess around with it for sure. Next up, we've got Destination Unknown, a 2-cost secondary spell, Rite of Focus. Move target wonder or item to realm 1. What's cool about this card is that you can target your own stuff or your opponent's stuff. So if you've given up on realm 1, maybe you move their best guy to realm 1 where it's useless because you're not going to try to contest that stone. And now that opens up a realm somewhere else where you can take the stone and get ahead. Or maybe you move your guy to realm 1 so that you have your big nasty guy in 1 and you can take the stone there and take over the game. There's a lot of versatility in how you can use this. And yeah, I think you probably want to run this if you get it in limited. I mean, it's a rare, so that makes sense, right? In Constructed, I'm not sure. It can be really cheap removal to a certain degree. I think if you find ways to build around getting more value out of moving things, then this goes way up in value, and it might be like your removal of choice in that deck, because it will not only be an efficient way to get something to realm 1 that you want to be there, either to get it out of your way if it's the opponent's, or because it's a thing you want there if it's yours, But you know, if you can trigger your move synergies in the process, you can get that extra value on top that might make it worth running. Next up, we've got Mechanicsburg Flight Suit. This is a 4-cost primary item equipment. Equipped Wonder gets +2 and flying. Do not underestimate how powerful it is to be able to give any of your wonders flying for the rest of the game. Like, the first time I saw this card, I immediately underestimated it. I was like, I don't know if this is worth it. Like, you have to have a wonder to put it on. Is the flying gonna matter? Yes, the flying is gonna matter. Movement in this set is so important, both in limited and constructed. Being able to turn your best guy into something that can move on command while also getting buffed up is huge. And what I love about this too is it's got built-in protection against Shocknado. Because it gives a +2 buff while also giving flying, as soon as it makes your guy fly so that it can get -2 from a Shocknado, it is also giving the +2 to protect it from that -2 from Shocknado. And maybe I'm thinking a little bit too much about Shocknado. I don't know how much that card's going to show up, but I used that card to great degree, and I think the fact that the Silver Lining just gravy extra value to this card is that it's got built-in protection to Shocknado is kind of cool, and it shows just how deep the team is thinking about the way these cards interact. Very cool. Next up, we've got Ondin, a 4-cost primary wonder with 5 power. It is a core card, and on arrival, you return target wonder or item with cost 3 or less in this realm to its owner's hand. This is really cool because you can bounce any of their things that cost 3 or less, but you can also bounce any of your things that cost 3 or less. And I'm in the middle of building a deck that wants to bounce all my stuff to replay it, so I'm kind of excited to use this. I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag just yet on what I got cooking up, but I got a pretty interesting deck idea that might end up being stupid powerful by the time I'm done. Or it could end up falling flat on its face, we'll see. But this guy will be a part of it. I think the ability is very versatile, and that makes it potentially powerful. Next up, we've got Pelawing Soarer, a 3-cost primary wonder with 3 power. It has flying, and it has call. Movement is so important in this set. Having both flying and call is crazy, right? Call can act as pseudo removal if you need it to, or move your best guy into just the right realm that it needs to be in. It can already do a ton of versatile things that are very powerful, but having flying on top of that, which is sort of like built-in protection from call, your opponent can't successfully call this somewhere and make it stuck there because it can just fly out. All of that is awesome. You probably run this guy if you're cracking him in limited. Constructed? I'm not sure. Only because there are some crazy powerful cards in Constructed that I think might overshadow this a little bit. But it definitely has a chance because call is just better than you think it is. Next up, we've got Riley Stormrider, a 4-cost primary wonder Thalwindian airship pirate with 4 power. It is a core card, and on play, you create a 1-power pirate token here or in an adjacent realm. Also, other pirates you control get +1 power. This card, this is the pirate tribal lord. This is the thing you want to run to make pirates real. The fact that he buffs up all of your other pirates by 1, including the token that he creates, is awesome. That means he puts 6 power onto the field, potentially spread apart in 2 different locations at the same time, while also buffing up all of your other power, and the versatility of being able to put that pirate token in any of 3 different realms, all for as little as 3 energy, seems really good to me. Granted, it's only a primary. I think a card like this would have been way more powerful. It could be secondary if you could hit it more consistently and have an easier time getting to a second copy of it as well. But it maybe would have been too powerful if it was a secondary. So I can kind of see why they made it a primary. But this card absolutely makes Pirates a potential deck on the radar. And we absolutely need to explore it and see if it's deep enough. Next up, we've got Starlight Shallows, a 0-cost secondary land outpost. Gives you a Thalwind link, you can harvest it to gain an action, and on play, each player with 0 actions gains 1 energy. This is interesting, so if you have a lot of untapped lands, this will work better for you. You wait until you're both out of actions. Well, you don't want them to be out of actions, right? I guess this penalizes them having more actions than you. You running out of actions first means you get to play this. If you play this with your last action, it'll come into play, you'll have 0 actions and gain an energy, and if you were the one to play first, they will always have an action left when you do that, which means they won't get the energy. And then after playing it, you're going to need lands to harvest to get an action back so you can use the energy you just created. So that's an important part, but at the very least, the Starlight Shallows itself can be the land that you harvest to get the action back. So in some ways, if you line this up right, this can just feel like it gives you a free energy, which is kind of cool. I don't know how good it is, but I'm tempted to say it might be really good. The fact that it's a rare seems to point at it being really good. This is one that we're going to have to experiment with for sure. Next up, we've got Stolen Thunder. I absolutely love this card. A 6-cost primary spell, Sigil of Focus. It is a core card. Gain control of target wonder and untap it. Sacrifice it at end of round. So this is basically an Arcane Grasp for wonders instead of items. Arcane Grasp is a card from the first set, Existence, that did this with items. And granted, that spell was a lot cheaper than this is, but being able to gain control of literally any wonder and untap it is insanely powerful. And remember, this will only cost you 5 energy if you have the link in play, which you need the link in play because of the core requirement anyway. So 5 energy, take their best guy that probably cost them more than 5 energy, and if it has a tap ability, you get to untap it to make sure you can use it. And then the best part is they don't get it back. They have to sacrifice it at end of round. This is the part that makes it a little bit better than the Wind Reaver. Granted, the Wind Reaver also gives you a whole nother flying wonder in addition to the thing that you steal, but the Wind Reaver has to give it back. This, you sacrifice it at end of round. So in a way, you can kind of see this card like it's removal. It's Thalwind removal makes your opponent sacrifice a thing, except not yet. In the meantime, you get to use it for the whole round before it goes away. But if you look at it like that, where gaining control of it and using it for the rest of the round is pure upside, and it's really just removal for their guy, just force it to be sacrificed at the end of round, and don't let them use it for the rest of the round in the meantime, and get to use it yourself, and get to untap it, and use its tap abilities. There's just so much potential value in this card. I absolutely love it. I think it's crazy. I think we're going to build around this card for sure. Let me know how you feel about this card in the comments. Granted, it is a little bit expensive, but I still think this card is really, really good. Next up, we've got 𝑇𝑒𝑟𝑟𝑎𝑛_𝑐𝑒, the Mouthy, a 6-cost primary wonder with 6 power. It is a Beastkin Shark Pirate, so you can play it in your Pirate Tribal deck. It is a core card, and it has the Guardian ability, granting +2 power, and name a card. That card costs 3 more to play this round. So this is one of the payoffs for all the cards we've seen so far that let us see what's either in our opponent's hand or what's on the top of their deck that they're about to draw, that sort of thing. This is one of the ways to pay that off. So again, if you're building into that deck, utilizing some of those cards, you're probably going to want to utilize both copies of this in that deck to capitalize on it. I actually have a deck I'm working on with this, and I can't give away why I'm working on that deck or what that deck is because it's for a tournament coming up. But maybe that is giving it away. I'm not going to say anything else. Let me know in the comments what you think about this card. Next up, we've got Borealith, the Lost Monolith. No, the Frost Monolith. It's not lost, it's here, it's just icy. A 7-cost legendary wonder dragon ice monster with 8 power. It is a core card, and on arrival, you stun all enemies in this realm or an adjacent realm. That's actually really good. Granted, 6 energy is a lot, requiring the core, but 8 power is kind of a lot too, and stunning everything in an entire realm can be kind of nuts. Obviously, if you play this in round 7, it's going to put in a whole lot more work. It has the potential to be really, really good. especially if you're in like a -1 counter deck and all of those things have -1 counters on them, and then you stun them all and they all just die. There are some really cool ways you can use this card. Next up, we've got Captain Shard, a 2-cost primary spell, Rite of Focus. Sorry, Captain's Share, not Shar. If target player gained energy during a turn this round, that player can't spend more than 5 more energy for the rest of the round. Really interesting card. You wait until your opponent uses energy ramp, and then you punish them for using the energy ramp. But what's cool is you can use this card in conjunction with your own cards that give both you and your opponent energy to sort of damage control, giving them the energy, right? If you give them a bunch of energy with a card you play, we've seen a few cards already in other videos that we've talked about that give your opponent a bunch of energy. You can take advantage of that by then using this spell, make it so they can't really use that energy. So again, this is one of those kind of build-arounds where if you have it in the right deck and you're planning for it, it could be really powerful. Next up, we've got Dabu Dawnrider, a 1-cost Legendary Wonder Beastkin Mouse Explorer. Mouse Tribal, let's go. 1 power, and whenever this loses a battle, you may move it to target realm where an opponent doesn't control a stone. This is really cool. What it does is it forces your opponent to not be able to just double down on realms they already control or that are already filled with wonders and ignore the new realms that are opening up. Because every time they come in and try to take a stone from you where this guy is, it can just move into a realm where it's just newly opened, there's nothing there, and be ready to just take the stone there with just 1 action instead of having to spend an action to play a wonder and then spend another action to attack. So it can potentially save you an action taking a newly unlocked stone, a newly unlocked realm, after losing a battle. And if your opponent tries to stop that by going there and taking the stone back from you, then it will lose a battle and do it again, right? So pretty interesting card. It's also worth mentioning the fact that you can choose to spend an action to battle even if you can't win the battle, right? So you can initiate a combat where Dabu Dawnrider is, knowing that you're going to lose, so that you can move it to whatever realm you want to, and maybe you can even trigger all of your movement synergies by doing that. I think there are some really interesting ways you're going to be able to use this card, but I can't fully wrap my head around it until I've seen it in action. So somebody out there, build that deck, or maybe I will eventually. But I have a lot of decks to build in the meantime, so let me know what you think of this. Let me know if you think I'm onto something. I think I am. Next up, we've got Desecrata, a 6-cost secondary wonder with 8 power, and on arrival, you stun target wonder here. So another real big chonky boy that can stun something when it arrives. Is stun gonna be a real thing? I think the stun lock deck might maybe be hitting critical mass. Stun and -1 counters just seems super fun. I think we need to try and build it. Next up, we've got Kohana Stormfin, a 3-cost secondary wonder Merfolk Kraken Beastmaster with 2 power. It is a core card, and each round, the first time a legendary wonder you control with cost 7 or greater has an on-arrival ability triggered, that ability triggers an additional time. That is such a very specific ability, but it doesn't cost too much energy to get this out, and you can just, like, double up a Scrawl, which is already, well, I think Scrawl might be on play. So maybe it's not going to double up a Scrawl. Let me know in the comments if you can think of any 7-cost or greater on-arrival abilities of a legendary wonder specifically that we can trigger with this. It seems like this card is meant for a very specific use with very specific wonders in mind, and I'm not entirely sure what they are, but let me know in the comments. Next up, we've got Star Peeper's Glass, a 4-cost primary item with a tap-free ability. The next time target player plays a card this round, you nullify it. I don't like it as much as the spell that does something like this in existence, because that spell lets you also draw a card in the process, but this card can also turn on your item synergies if you have any, and if you have ways to untap items, you could potentially use it multiple times. So there are some upsides to this card, That being said, I'm not the biggest fan of it, but maybe there's a crazy combo deck out there where you can just keep nullifying everything. If that exists, we probably need to try to build it, right? If you could just keep untapping this somehow over and over and over again and make it so every card they play just gets nullified, that could be pretty crazy. And if that's not a real deck now, it's definitely possible that stuff coming in future sets will eventually turn that into a real deck. So, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Next up, we've got Stormfang and Thunderbite, a card that I seriously underestimated going into the Shattering. A 6-cost legendary item equipment. It's a core card. On play, create a Sky Sword token item that's a copy of this in target realm. Equipped Wonder gets +6 power and can't be targeted. Very, very cool. The one thing you have to be very careful of with this card is it's not just can't be targeted by opponents. It just straight up can't be targeted. So you can no longer target your own Wonder with stuff if you put this on your guys. That being said, getting a total of 12 power and 2 different things unable to be targeted, basically having protection from your opponent's removal, your opponent's steal, all of that stuff is absolutely nuts. The first time I saw this card, I thought it was just a little too expensive and I didn't know if it was going to be good enough. But after seeing it in action at the Shattering, it is absolutely good enough. 12 power and 2 things unable to be targeted is bonkers for as little as 5 energy. Like, absolutely bonkers. Even better if it's on a significant Wonder with other crazy abilities, flying, whatever. Just absolutely nuts. The one thing you do need to be careful of is the copy it makes is a token. There are some cards that can easily destroy tokens in this set. So the item itself can be susceptible to removal, even if the Wonder it's equipped to is not. So bear that in mind. Next up, we've got Sunforged Guildhall, a 0-cost secondary land landmark. Gives you a Thalwind link, can be harvested for an action, and opponents can't create tokens here. This is a little cute, right? You can play it in a realm if you think your opponent's ready to make tokens there and shut them down. Most of the time, tokens are very little power, so is it really worth your land slot? I have an answer to that question. This is worth a slot if you end up going up against Sapphire. And we haven't seen Sapphire yet, we're going to very soon. But if your opponent's playing Sapphire, this is actually really, really good. And if Sapphire ends up taking off in the meta, which Sapphire will create a token that always has to be in Realm 1 when it creates it. So if Sapphire takes off and it's just everywhere in the meta and everyone's running it, maybe running one of these and always playing it in Realm 1 to turn off Sapphire's ability basically could be really, really powerful. So jury's out on this one. It's another one we're going to have to wait and see how the meta develops, and we'll talk about Sapphire more in just a little bit. Next up, we've got Thalwind's Wrath, a 7-cost secondary spell, Sigil of Convergence. It is a core card. You banish all wonders and items controlled by target player in target realm. Return them to that realm at end of round, and then banish this spell. This card's really, really interesting. If you save it for the last round, round 7, you can effectively remove all of an opponent's wonders in one realm, completely wipe them, and keep your own, because you only get rid of them, all of the wonders that are controlled by target player in target realm. So it's a one-sided wipe in that realm where you get rid of all their stuff, and by the time they come back at end of round, it's already the end of the game, so it doesn't really feel like they're getting them back at all. So it actually does function like a one-sided wipe. Very powerful if used that way. It can also be used on your own stuff, though, if it's earlier in the game, round 5 or round 6 or something, and use it to banish all of your stuff that has maybe tap abilities you want to reset or on arrival abilities you want to re-trigger. You can actually do that. They'll come back in at end of round, and you know, you'll get all of that stuff back online again, which is really, really crazy. Another cool way to use this that you want to keep in mind, and depending on how the meta develops, there's a chance this could become a really important tactic. You can banish all of your stuff in 6, like at the very beginning of 6, if you're worried about your opponent doing something with your stuff, like killing them or stealing them or whatever, if they're banished, your opponent can't do anything to them. They're out of the game. They're kind of like tucked away and safe in banishment until you're ready to start round 7. And then at the end of the round, they all come back and they're ready to use again in round 7, where you can finish the game and get value off of all of their craziness. So I don't know how useful this spell is going to be in that way, but the fact that it can be used that way, if the meta tends to gravitate towards some really nasty removal options or things that are just messing with your opponent's board, this could be a really, really cool way to save your stuff. Next up, we've got the Lubricated Lightning. I absolutely love this card. A 3-cost primary wonder racing ship with 3 power. It is a core card. On round start, you may move this to an adjacent realm. If you do, it gets +2 power this round. So as long as you always start by moving it to a different realm than it was in the last round, it'll always be 5 power. And it doesn't cost you an action to move it. It just gets to start in either of the adjacent realms, which is amazing. It can probably just start in a newly opened realm. Every time a new one opens, it can just start by moving there, and it can just go right down the line, always being ready to take a stone in a newly opened realm. And that way it feels a lot like Cloudweaver Construct from Existence, the first set, except Cloudweaver Construct had to move into a realm that there was nothing there, and it's only 1 power, so it's hard for it to hold that realm down. This is a whopping 5 power every round if you use it right, if you're constantly moving it, and it can also get around some restrictions that don't let you play things to certain realms, because you're not technically playing, you're just starting with it in that realm. There's really, really interesting ways to use this card. I have plenty of decks that I'm going to try and brew using this card and taking advantage of the fact that it can start in other realms to get around certain downsides. It's going to be super fun. Yeah, I can't wait to see how the rest of you guys use this card. Next up, we've got the Reaver's Revenge, a 6-cost primary wonder pirate airship with 3 power. It is a core card. It has flying, and on play, untap target item and gain control of it. So this is kind of like a Wind Reaver for items, with the big difference being you don't have to only take it until end of round. And that's what makes this card a little bit better than something like Arcane Grasp. Arcane Grasp, you steal their item, you have to sacrifice it at the end of round. This, you steal their item, you get it forever, and you untap it, which means if you really want to, you can target your own item just to untap it if that's more valuable than stealing one of their items. And no matter what, you still also have a 3-power flyer as well. The value you get out of this card is amazing. I think it's probably one of the best answers to items that are in the game right now. The only thing that's really holding it back is it's a bit cost prohibitive. At 6 energy, 5 with the link, it's still going to take a good amount of energy to get rid of their item, whereas Arcane Grasp is a lot cheaper. But I think the fact that you keep the item forever, and you get to untap the item, and you get a 3-power flyer, I think it might be worth it. I am going to go out on a limb and say I think this might be the best piece of item removal in the game right now. Not strictly, because there are some more efficient costed ones, but overall, I do think it is. If you disagree with me, let me know in the comments. But next up, we've got 1000-Armed Jelly. This is a 6-cost secondary wonder dragon jellyfish. Crazy. It's got 6 power. It's a core card, and on arrival, each player loses 2 energy. What's cool about this card is if you spend all of your energy to play it, it doesn't do anything to you, right? If you have exactly 5 energy and you just immediately go, boom, I play 1000-Armed Jelly with my 5 energy and I'm down to 0, and it makes them lose 2 and makes you lose 2, it doesn't really make you lose anything. They just lose 2. And that's enough to set them back a whole round, potentially, as far as the card they really were counting on playing, that they were planning their whole round around, possibly. It could really, really mess with their math and really screw them up, while also giving you 6 power, which is not nothing. And granted, paying 5 energy is still a lot, but I think in the right deck where you can really take advantage of making your opponent lose that energy, this card could be super nuts. If you can double down on that concept and build around it, I think there's some crazy decks that are just hiding beneath the surface. Next up, we've got our first mythic here. This is Elan Wisp Song, a 5-cost legendary wonder with 6 power. And on round end, you may tap or untap target wonder. I think this card is nuts. I think this card is so good. I ran it in my constructed deck at the Shattering. The fact that you get to tap or untap a wonder is what makes it so good. You play it in a deck where you have your own tap abilities. Maybe you're using Kaelith, Ashenleaf, just different wonders you can harvest so that you always have like something you can just untap to get an extra action out of, so that no matter what, you're at least getting value every single round. But being able to, no matter what, get that value every single round while also holding up the ability for free at the end of every round to tap down their best thing is nuts. I feel like most of the time what it does is it forces them to tap their guys immediately and not save them. Every single round, they're going to be using all of their tap abilities and not saving them for later in the game because they're scared you're going to tap them down at the end of round with Elan Wisp Song. So not only do you get to then untap one of your own things to get value because you have nothing to tap down, but you also made them have to use up all their tap abilities early in the game and not have any left for the end of the game where they're going to probably be more powerful and more valuable. I think the psychological games you can play with your opponent with this card are going to be really, really good. And on top of it, if you have any really crazy tap abilities like Stone Seekers or Razzia or anything like that, you can get access to using those multiple times as well. Just the floor of this card, if you build around it right, is so good. The fact that you have the opportunity to tap things without the cost of getting 0 value if you don't have anything to tap is just bonkers to me. I think this card is going to be a really important part of the meta. Next up, we've got Arius the Relentless, a 7-cost legendary wonder, first form incarnation. So this is the blue first form that we got in this set. He's got a 7 power, he's a core card, and wonders you control here get flying. This is really cool. It does only give flying to wonders that are in the same realm as him, but what it does allow you to do is to fly into a realm, give everything there flying, and then when you attack, fly everything there into the next realm, and then give all of those things flying. It could just keep picking up wonders as it goes, and eventually you have all of your wonders in one realm with this guy. All of them have flying, and every action you spend, you're just taking a stone and moving to a realm, and taking a stone and moving to a realm. Just going down the line, just completely bullying the whole board. And I love that idea. Granted, if they then kill Arius, all your guys are going to be stuck in one spot. So there is risk involved, but there is potential for this to be crazy at the same time. Next up, we've got Mechanicsburg. This is probably the land with the most potential, the highest ceiling in this set. A 0-cost legendary land. Gives you that Thalwind link and you can harvest it to gain an action, but whenever an opponent passes, you may create a 1-power pirate token in a realm where you control a ship or airship. So if you're in a deck where you can make a whole bunch of extra actions with lands, with maybe wonders that can be harvested, that sort of thing, or if you're just in a deck that can constantly use like tap free or free abilities to do things without actually spending actions, without actually having to like waste your action potential, you can just force your opponent to have to keep passing because they're out of actions and literally can't do anything, and you can just keep making 1-power pirate tokens. As long as you're in a deck that consistently has enough ships so that you have spots to put those pirate tokens, and then maybe you double down by playing the pirate guys that synergize and then buff up all your pirates, I could see this being really crazy. In the right deck, you could just pop off and get a ton of tokens just from your opponent not being able to keep up with how much stuff you're doing. And there are a few combos in the game that just, you can just keep triggering over and over and over, keep spending turns doing a thing over and over and over without actually spending an action, which can force you to get, force your opponent to pass a bunch, get close to that 21 pass rule. For those of you that don't know, if a player passes 21 times in the same round, the round automatically ends. So You do have to be careful of that, but I still think there's a ton of value to be had with a card like this in the right deck, and it could be absolutely crazy. Next up, we've got Sapphire the Reflector. It is finally time to talk about Sapphire. This is one of the best cards in the set. I kind of compare it to Plant Terror of Ethereal Grove from Existence. It feels like it's on that same level as far as power for this set as like the Plant Terror is for set 1 Existence. This is a 7-cost Legendary Wonder Dragon Prismation Titan with 9 power. It is a core card, it has flying, so already for as little as 6 energy you have a 9 power flyer. But on play, you untap target wonder and create a token copy of it in Realm 1. This is that card that you need that land in Realm 1 to protect against a token copy being created. But there's so many ways to use this, it's nuts. First of all, the fact that you get to untap the wonder means you could use your wonder's tap ability, then play Sapphire, untap it, and make a copy so that you can use the original tap ability a second time, and then use the copy's tap ability as well. That is an insane amount of value on the top of already having a 9 power flyer and whatever power and stats that the token you made has also contributing to the board. That's just an insane value swing all at once. But the versatility in how you use this is where things get really crazy. You could actually target one of their wonders to make a copy of their wonder, and you don't even have to target one of their tapped wonders. The way this ability works is if the wonder is tapped, it will untap it, but you can still target the wonder even if it's already untapped, which means you can target your best wonder that doesn't have a tap ability just to make sure you get a copy of it. You can also target their best wonder that doesn't have a tap ability just to make sure you get a copy of their best wonder, and at the very least, you stay 1-to-1 with the power level of their best card while also having a 9 power flyer, and that is crazy. Even if you do use this on one of their wonders that has a tap ability, if you're careful and use it before they get a chance to tap it, they don't get any extra value off the untapped part of this because it's already untapped, right? So really, really crazy, interesting ways to use this card. To be completely honest, I can't wait to try to use this with Plant Terror of Ethereal Grove, like play a Plant Terror, and then maybe one of the things you Symbiosis has a tap ability, so you tap the Plant Terror to use it, and then use Sapphire, target the Plant Terror, untap it, so it can use its tap ability again, while also making a copy of the Plant Terror, which gets to Symbiosis 2 more things, and is also untapped, like... crazy. Absolutely crazy. There's just so much you can do with this card. I expect it to be one of those top-end cards that's just pure value, pure power, that most decks in the meta are going to be running right out of the gate, because it's just that good. I ran it my constructed deck, and it was absolutely insane for me pretty much every time that I played it. Next up, we've got Seafire Eye Patch, talking about absolutely insane. This is a 0-cost legendary item equipment compass. Equipped wonder gets +1 power and can't be targeted by opponents or opponents' cards. It's also a pirate in addition to its other classes, and you can tap free to look at target player's hand. This card is absolutely nuts. So, first of all, just getting the silver lining value, just the extra gravy of being able to tap the Seafire Eye Patch to look at your opponent's hand and know everything that they're planning to do so you can be ready for it, is way more powerful than you might think. Just absolutely backbreaking to know everything that they have coming. Just crazy. But making your best guy unable to be targeted by their stuff, even though it can still be targeted by your stuff, is what sets this card way apart from other things, other cards that do similar things. Just absolute nuts. The fact that it costs 0 means even if your big wonder you want to play and protect is going to use all of your energy, you can just use an action to play this first, and then you can play your wonder afterwards into the same realm, and it immediately comes in equipped, which means your opponent does not have a window to remove that wonder before you get to play the Seafire Eye Patch and equip it to protect it, right? If you use spells that add shield counters, things like that, you have to play the wonder first, you have to let your opponent take a turn, potentially being able to get rid of that wonder, before then you can take another turn to play the spell and put the shield counter on. Equipment, way, way better. Equipment that protects stuff is really, really good. There was a piece of equipment that protects things in the first set existence that I think flew under the radar, and I think once people start to realize how good this is, they're going to start to realize how good that card is as well. Being able to just protect anything right out of the gate without giving your opponent a window to get rid of it is just nuts. There's also just a bunch of gravy built in, like +1 power just because for no energy. Awesome, I'll take it. And then the fact that it turns into a pirate means if you happen to be running those pirate synergies, you can also pick up like the pirate buffs and stuff like that. Just a lot of little bits of negligible value tacked on that seem like not a whole lot, but when you're in the thick of the game actually might end up mattering a whole lot. So this card is crazy. It's also an item, so it's going to turn on all of your item synergies and stuff like that. I feel like this is the closest thing we have to like a Phoenix Quill power level item in this set. And I expect it to be everywhere. If you are sleeping on this card, stop sleeping on this card. This card is bonkers. Next up, we've got Shelgaroth, the Ocean's Bulwark, an 8-cost legendary wonder with 10 power, and on arrival, return target card from the world to its owner's hand. Absolutely love this. 10 power is a lot for as little as 7 energy, and the fact that you can return literally any card in the world. Either a wonder, an item, a land, it can be your opponent's, it can be yours. The versatility is just absolutely nuts. Being able to just return their best guy to their hand and they don't have enough energy to replay it again can be nuts in round 7, but also returning one of your dudes to your hand so that you can replay it and re-trigger its on play or on arrival or untap it or whatever. The versatility of this card is crazy. Having the versatility attached to 10 power is what makes it kind of crazy and worthy of being a mythic. I will actually absolutely be running this in certain decks that can take advantage of bouncing things more. There are, in your normal run-of-the-mill decks, I think there might be other wonders that are a little bit more powerful and worth running more than this, like Sapphire. But if you are building a deck that is built in just right around taking advantage of bouncing things, I think this card could be absolutely nutty. Next up, we've got Starfall Cascade, a 5-cost legendary spell, Rite of Resonance. It is a core card. Move any number of target lands and items to Realm 1. This seems really interesting to me because there are a couple of cards in existence that can steal all of the lands in one realm, or just make it so that all of the lands in one realm can't be harvested, like Galen Mosspaw. If you have a Galen Mosspaw in Realm 1, making it so all the lands in Realm 1 can't be harvested, and then you play this and move all their lands and items there, basically turns off the ability to harvest all of those lands all at once, which is nutty. Or if you've got Crimson Marauder in your hand and you're ready to steal all of the lands in one realm, move them all to Realm 1. Even if you don't have the Crimson Marauder, your opponent's probably going to assume you have it and immediately harvest all those lands so that you don't get the actions. So sometimes maybe you can bait and switch and just manipulate them into thinking you have a Crimson Marauder by playing this spell. Just really, really interesting. And the fact that it can move all of the items as well means it's really going to mess with like equipment decks and stuff like that. It can move all of the new Myth Stones. If your opponent has a couple Myth Stones out, you have a couple of Myth Stones out, you can just move them all to Realm 1, where maybe you stacked up a whole bunch of power because you were prepared for it, and now all of a sudden, like, you have so much power in one, your opponent can't hope to take it back, but there's like 5 stones there. You could do some really crazy stuff with this card, and I'm going to challenge any of you out there to try to build a deck that does something like that, because I think it could absolutely be nuts. Next up, we've got the Coral Primordial. Speaking of absolutely nuts, a 7-cost secondary wonder with 8 power. That's right, this is a mythic that's secondary, which means you can run up to 3 of them. Keep that in mind. This is a core card, and it has Call, Call, Call. This is crazy. first of all, you can target the same wonder with all 3 calls if you want, and move it 3 realms, maybe triggering all your movement synergies, getting value off each of those moves in the process. But then you can also split it up, right? You could target 3 different wonders and call them all each one, or some combination, right? You could call one of their guys 2 spaces and one of them 1. Or if you play it in a realm where you have a stone, you could call one of your guys 2 spots closer and a different one of your guys 1 spot closer. The versatility and how you can use this ability depending on what the board looks like and what the situation is just makes it really, really powerful. You also get 8 power for as little as 6 energy, which is not nothing. So I think this card could be nuts, only because Call is absolutely insane, and this is probably one of the 2 top most power-packed Call cards in the set, and I am excited to see what kind of ridiculous shenanigans people can get up to with this. Next up, we've got the Saint of the Swirling Church, a 4-cost legendary wonder with 4 power. It is a core card. It has Heart of a Legend, which means if you control a legendary wonder, another legendary wonder, you're going to be able to trigger all of its abilities a second time, and it has a tap-free ability, name a card. That card can't be played this round. This is really, really good if you know what cards they have in their hand. Forcing them to not be able to play whatever card's going to be best for them that round can be crazy, and if you have a way to untap it and use it again, then it can get even crazier because you can do it every round and essentially lock them out of ever playing that card, which I don't know if there's enough things that untap to do that. I guess at the very least you can play it with Eilon, right? The thing that untaps something at the end of every round. You just keep using this every round. That could be really, really cool. I think this card is one of those cards that's going to be a little bit better than it looks on the surface once people crack just how to get the most value out of it and how to really make it work for them. Next up, we've got the Storm Rider. My pick for probably the most powerful, just sheer pure power if you ignore synergies, in the entire set. This is an 8-cost legendary wonder with 8 power. It is a core card. It's flying, and on play you untap all wonders in an adjacent realm and gain control of them this round. You steal the whole realm. The whole realm. Whatever realm has the most craziness in it, the most wonders stacked up, you play it in a realm next to that. You steal the whole realm. Not only that, you untap all of your wonders that are in that realm as well, getting back even more value, and you untap the wonders that you steal, so if any of those had tap abilities, you get even more value, and you have an 8 power flyer in the next realm over, giving you even more value and the ability to swing and take stones and fly and take more stones later. Like, this is just an absolutely back-breaking game ender, and I'm going to be completely honest, this is the card that won it for me at the Shattering. I managed to take first place in the constructed open tournament. Absolutely crazy card. I was running it. My opponent was running it. That finals match is being edited right now, and it is on the way soon. Be patient. We have a lot of videos to put out, but it is coming, and that match was crazy. This card is hands down the single most powerful, power-packed card in the entire set. Maybe not when you factor in all of the different synergies you can line up. There might be some cards that can eke out more power if lined up just right with just the right synergies, but just pound for pound by itself, this card is bonkers. This card will swing an entire game all by itself, and it absolutely already did it for me multiple times. The card is cracked. You're going to see it everywhere. I absolutely love it. Let me know how you feel about it in the comments, because this card is bananas. Next up, we've got Trevelyan Mouseheart, another one of my favorite cards from the set. This is a 3-cost legendary wonder, Beastkin Mouse. It's a mouse, guys. This fits into Mouse Tribal. It has 1 power, it's a core card, and has a tap-free ability. For each card you control with a sacrifice ability, you may activate that ability once this round without sacrificing that card. Do you understand how crazy this card is? Like, first of all, you can play it in the mouse deck, and then you can just tap this, and it's almost like another Moonfire Crystal Mouse, right? It lets you use all of your Moonfire Crystal Mice without actually sacrificing them, drawing 2 cards for each of them, gaining 2 for each of them, and then you can still also after that sacrifice them to get even more value. Like, you can use once without sacking and then still use it a second time while sacrificing it. Like, absolutely crazy. But this thing unlocks so many ridiculous synergies. I have a Mouse Tribal deck coming because you have cards from the first set existence like Petrian Home-Cooked Meal, which is an item with a sacrifice-free ability that untaps all wonders of the type you choose and puts a +1 counter on them. You could literally choose Mouse and untap Trevelyan and all of your other mice and put a counter on all of them, and then just use Trevelyan again. I don't know if you can use this multiple times in the same round, because it doesn't say you may use it an additional time without sacrificing it. It just says you may use it once without sacrificing it. So I think no matter how many times you tap free this in the same round, it's still saying you can do it once. Just once, no matter what. Not one more, just once. But you would be able to use him once every single round with Petrian Home-Cooked Meal. You could also do something similar with Sand Goggles, which is an equipment that allows you to sacrifice free the Sand Goggles to untap the thing that it's on. You can put the Sand Goggles on Trevelyan so that you can basically use them once a round for free. Or just put the Sand Goggles on something else that has a really powerful tap ability so that when you tap Trevelyan, you can then untap that thing without sacrificing the Sand Goggles. Maybe you just, you know, get to use your Stoneseeker's tap ability like 3 times in a row or something crazy. There's just some nutty stuff you can do with this card, and I am absolutely going to be brewing with it. The one thing that kind of balances it out is the fact that it's legendary, so you can only have 1 in your deck, which means you can't build around it too deeply. If this was a secondary, that deck would be absolutely cracked, but we are going to build it anyway. There's some crazy stuff you can do with this card, and I can't wait to dig in. Let me know how you feel about it in the comments. That brings us to our last card, not counting story tokens, of course, in this video, and that is the Stoneseeker, Xander Cloudwright, a 4-cost Legendary Wonder Stoneseeker. He's got 6 power, he is a core card, and just like every Stoneseeker, on play and tap free, create a story token in this or an adjacent realm. And this Stoneseeker is one of my favorites. He's relatively cheap, only costing you 3 energy if you have the link. And you can get a lot of bang for your buck because his story tokens are absolutely crazy. Let's dig in. First of all, he has a common magnetic entity, a legendary story token wonder with 3 power and the call ability. On demand, he can just call whenever he wants, either when you play him or with his tap free ability. Not only do you get to call something, but you get to put 3 power in one of up to 3 different realms, either the one that he's in or one of the ones he's next to. All of that is a lot, like calling and 3 power in a different realm and Xander's 6 power in the other realm. Even all of that by itself is a lot, but the fact that you get another story token as well, Stoneseekers are just so powerful. And this is probably the most powerful common story token in this set. I could be wrong, but off the top of my head, I think this is the most powerful common story token in the set. Next up, we've got Supply Master Cruise. This is the uncommon story token, legendary story token wonder with 2 power, and on arrival, each player draws a card. Honestly, not that bad. Getting an extra 2 power and getting to draw a card, especially maybe if you have some synergies that punish your opponent for drawing cards, could be interesting. I don't think you necessarily need to be building your deck in that direction to make use of this guy. I think just symmetrically getting a card while also getting 2 power in one of up to 3 realms is kind of good. Next, we've got Navigator's Book, a legendary story token item with a sacrifice-free ability, draw 2 cards, and then bury 2 cards from your hand. This is sort of like a mini Phoenix Quill, at least as far as being able to cycle some of the cards out of your hand for new stuff. And it gets better if you're running Trevelyan Mouseheart, because you can actually activate that sacrifice-free ability once without sacrificing it if you use Trevelyan, and then still sacrifice it later on. basically being able to draw up to 4 cards with this and burying 4 cards split into 2 different activations could be really, really good. Next, we have his Epic, which is Hot Streamer. I kind of love this card. A legendary story token item. Equipped Wonder. It is an equipment gun. Equipped Wonder gets +1 power, and when Equipped Wonder attacks, you may move target defending Wonder with cost 2 or less to an adjacent realm. So you have this on the thing that you want to attack so that you can move the thing that's defending to an adjacent realm. Granted, it can only target something that costs 2 or less, so it is a little bit limited, but it's not even the mythic story token, so I still think it's pretty good for an epic, and if you put it on a flyer, it gets even crazier. The first of 2 mythic story tokens for Xander is High Capacity Dissipators, a legendary story token item. Equipped Wonder gets Guardian +4, and on arrival, each opponent loses an energy and you gain an energy. The fact that you get to create these story tokens without spending actions, without spending energy, makes this ability way better than it looks on the surface. Being able to take 1 energy away from your opponent, give yourself an energy, no matter what, is really, really powerful right out of the gate. More powerful than you would think it would be. And then also giving Guardian +4 to the Equipped Wonder makes it really hard for your opponent to put new wonders into that realm in order to take the stone there, because they're just buffing up your dude to an insane degree every single time. I actually really, really like this one. And last but not least, we have the Displacer. One of the 2 or 3 most powerful story tokens in the game, in my opinion. This is a legendary story token item, Equipment Gun. Equipped Wonder gets +2 power and the tap free ability, move target enemy to an adjacent realm. The fact that you can just tap the Wonder that equips this to move any enemy anywhere to either adjacent realm is crazy. Like, this is crazy. If it had to target something that was in the same realm as the Displacer, it would not be nearly as powerful. But the fact that it can move anything anywhere on your opponent's side on a whim, not to any realm, only to an adjacent realm, still makes it kind of nuts, right? I think this card is absolutely bonkers, and the fact that it gives +2 power buff on top, kind of for free, is crazy too. If you can find ways to constantly re-equip this to new wonders over and over and over again, it's not the Displacer that you tap to move an enemy to an adjacent realm, it's the wonder that it's equipped to. So you could keep equipping this to new wonders and tapping those wonders to move more of your opponent's wonders, which is kind of crazy if you can make it work. Granted, it's a little hard to re-equip equipment right now. You can only re-equip an equipment to something if you play a new wonder to that same realm. You can choose to equip it to it, or if the realm is empty and doesn't have any wonders in it, and you move a wonder into that realm, it can pick it up off the ground. But if it's already equipped to a wonder in that realm and you move something into that realm, it cannot grab it from the wonder. Little weird, little weird caveat there, but really interesting thing that you have to kind of plan around and play around. Maybe in some kind of a sacrifice deck, where after you tap the wonder to move something, you're able to sacrifice that wonder for value, and then it will immediately fall off and equip to any other wonder that's there, so that you can rinse and repeat. That could be kind of cool. There's definitely got to be a way to get more juice out of this card for sure, and we are going to be experimenting with that 100%, digging in and trying to find the craziest decks that can utilize the Displacer, because I think this card is crazy. And that brings us to the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for checking it out. We've done 5 of the orbitals now. We have just 1 left to cover in the next video, and that is Umbrathine. I know some of you guys out there are just itching to see what I think of all the Umbrathine cards, and we're finally getting to that next. Expect that one coming soon. Please like, please subscribe. All that stuff helps me out so much. Let me know in the comments what you think of this set so far, what you think of these cards, and what deck you want to see me try to build. I'll see you on the next video. Thanks so much for checking out my channel. I'd like to give a huge shout out to all of my patrons over at Patreon. Without you guys, this channel would not be possible, so honestly, thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of your contributions. If you haven't yet, like and subscribe. The more likes we get and the quicker we get them, the bigger this channel will grow and the faster it will grow. I'd love nothing more than this channel to become something very special for you guys, but it's entirely up to you how fast that happens. Also, if you'd like more deck techs, that's somewhere over there. And if you'd like to see what else the channel's been up to lately, that's somewhere up that way. Also, subscribe, circle below, do all the things.